Hey everybody, my name is Kluu, and I'm here to tell you, or give a review of Monogatari series, the first series, which is a trilogy of Bake Monogatari, Nisei Monogatari, and Neko Monogatari Black. So, I'm going to be splitting up my talking about the first series of the Monogatari series into two parts, the characters and the story. And I really have a lot to talk about when it comes in terms with this show, because this show is very good. It's based off of a novel written by Nisio Isin, or I'm probably mispronouncing that very hard. And he is a very famous author in Japan. He made the Monogatari series, and the main concept of the Monogatari series was the fact that it revolved around Japanese wordplay. So, they could have different kanji saying different things, and it would mean multiple different words, which doesn't really translate to English very well because it's Japanese wordplay, not English wordplay. So it makes it kind of hard to understand whenever you're reading subtitles in English or whatever, But the entire series of Monogatari is very well renowned. In fact, a lot of people like it, but nobody really talks about it, I mean, it did come out a very long time ago, but nobody really talks about the show. And in my opinion, it is probably one of the best animes that I've ever watched in my entire life. I mean, I'm not even finished with it. I still have a lot of seasons to go. And, I've already watched a lot of it. It has a lot of seasons. I don't know how many, but I'm pretty sure it has more than 6, at least. This show holds a very deep spot in my heart because I know this might sound cringy, but I watched it and, gave me a new sense of self, watching what these characters go through and the emotions that they have to handle in their backstories as to why, these supernatural entities are affecting them in the way that they are. And it goes to show, how people can persevere in the face of, anything, supernatural entities, vampires, whatever, like in this show. And when I watched this show for the first time, I thought it was weird, like any person who would probably watch this anime for the first time would think it was weird. I mean, even today, I'm still watching it, and I'm like 5 seasons in, or like 6 seasons in, and I think, some of the things that they do are pretty weird. And watching this show, knowing that it was weird and stuff, brings, it made me laugh a couple of times when I watched it, there's funny stuff about that. And, this show isn't for everybody. I know that's a fact. Some people may not like it. I know a couple of people that I tried to introduce this show to. They didn't really like it. And they thought it was weird, But if you can get past the first 2 episodes, I think you will be able to appreciate the show a lot more, and you understand, the concept that goes behind it. And that's what I did. I watched a couple episodes, and at first I thought it was, a really weird show. I didn't really like it at first, but I got really into it, and I wanted to know more as to what happened. Every character's backstory, what they went through, and the multiple love triangles. Pretty sure it's a fucking octagon at this point. And it's a very good show. I really like it. So, the first thing I want to talk about at this show is the story. Now, the story is wrapped around this main character named Araragi Koyomi, and he is what, the story says is a pseudo-vampire. He is a human who has vampire traits. And, he can still be killed, but he rapidly regenerates at like a very rapid pace. This ties into another character named Shinobu Oshino, or her other name, which I'm not going to say because that would technically be spoilers. So you might want to go watch the show yourself. But the fact that Araragi has been through this supernatural attack that he had that turned him into a vampire, which, they said it was a vampire attack, and that he went to this guy named Meme Oshino, who helped him with his vampirism and helped him turn it back. The story kicks off in the middle of like an entire timeline, so it may start off confusing at first, and once you get later into the show, you'll know what happened before Bakemonogatari. Knowing all that stuff, like later on, knowing what happened and how this happened and what happened after, something happened, and it really wraps the story around, and it makes it a lot more, unified because they do that. And the story also puts a lot of emphasis on emotion and the feelings that other characters feel towards each other, and the relationships that characters have with each other that make them, unique in their own way as to what they do, what they like, and I thought that was really great, how each character had their own problem, and Araragi fixes that problem in various ways. Eventually, he starts off by asking Meme Oshino for help as to these other people that he's trying to help. By people, I mean women, because, every single person he helps in this fucking show is a woman. So it's kind of like, Love Octagon. That's one thing I don't really like about this show, is the fact that every single female character that Araragi helps ends up falling in love with him. They kind of counterfeit this with the fact that Araragi is in love with Senjogahara, the first girl that he helps out, and they end up in a relationship. But, the other characters still, love him for some reason. Except for Sugura Kanbaru. She doesn't really, love him. She's just kind of, fan service, if I'm being completely honest. She doesn't really add anything to his harem on the down low. But he is a very, charismatic character as well. All the jokes that Araragi makes is some of them are funny, some of them aren't. I didn't, it's really unique how the fact that they put in a lot of incest in Nisei, especially in Nisei Monogatari, over the fact that Araragi had like this sexual tension between his sisters, which, in my opinion, was not very well thought out, because, incest isn't for the wincest. So, especially the infamous Nisei Monogatari toothbrush scene where Araragi brushes his sister's toothbrush. I don't remember which sister it was, but it was one of them. I think it was Karen Araragi. But I thought that was very overly sexual and all that stuff. In my opinion, this show is a 10 out of 10. Would recommend, what they say. Because this show, after watching the first couple episodes and getting into it, it really leaves you going like, man, I really want to know more about what happens. I really want to know what happens to Araragi, what he does, and all this stuff. His relationship between all the characters, how they fledged out, and all that stuff. And it really, leaves you to think about what's going to happen. And sometimes in the show, when you think that somebody's going to win or Araragi's going to beat up someone, it's the complete opposite. He gets his ass kicked, but he keeps fighting anyway. which is something that I really admire about him, is the fact that he never gave up and he always does what he needs to do in helping people. Later on in the show, especially in Monogatari second season, which is in the second series of the Monogatari series, narrators get switched up. And I thought that was an interesting concept, that the narrators get switched up and they do different things and whatnot. And I thought that was really cool. So, to end this off, I like to give this show a 10 out of 10. Would recommend. I know it's not that enthusiastic of me for a first review of an anime or game, but yeah, I gave it a 10 out of 10, and you should definitely watch it. This is your boy Kluu, and peace out.